Let's talk about nepotism. Everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife and best friend, Brooke. Love you, honey. And now on to our topic. Let's talk about nepotism. Wow, Matt, such a negative topic. How unlike you. Or not. First of all, before we get too deep into this topic, I want to clarify that by nepotism, I'm talking about the full meaning of the word, which is showing preference to friends or family when hiring. And for this industry, I'm talking about when casting for a show. We all know it happens. Sometimes it's really obvious, like when Justin Timberlake shows up as a guest star in the miniseries Candy, which is produced by his wife Jessica Biel. But often it's more subtle, like have you ever noticed certain TV actors tend to show up on the same network over a series of years? Nathan Fillion headlines the show Castle on ABC, and then headlines the show The Rookie on ABC. Murray Bartlett dazzles us in season 1 of the HBO Max show White Lotus, and then shows up as this amazing guest star in season 1 of The Last of Us on HBO Max. And in the realm of movies, directors like the Coen brothers tend to use the same actors over and over again. So let's unpack this a little. From the outside looking in, it seems very unfair. Roles should go to the best actors, right? They shouldn't be just handed to some friend or family member because of nepotism. But think about if you were a painter. You know I love my metaphors. Once you have developed a style and process, you will tend to start buying the same paints, the same brands, the same colors. If you ever watch Bob Ross on The Joy of Painting, he had the exact same color palette that he pulled from for each episode. In fact, he had his own line of paints that I think I still own somewhere. So should a painter be obligated to try every paint from every brand every time they start a new project? Or does it make sense for them to gravitate to the palette that has been working for them time and time again? And sure, when the painter is trying to stretch themselves or try something new, they will try new colors, new brands, new tools, etc. But it shouldn't be a surprise when they still call upon some of their tried and true favorites when they move forward with that next blank canvas. Now that starts to become a weird analogy because actors aren't just tools to be used up and thrown away. Or is it a good analogy? Commercials, anyone? Am I right? But hopefully this analogy helps us to start shifting our perspective a little. See, the decision makers are concerned about the artistic value and quality of the show, yes, but they're really thinking about the markability of the finished product, i.e. dollar signs, which is so much easier to predict if you're using some of the same ingredients you used last time. And so while a certain director or showrunner may want to cast fresh faces for their show, there might be someone higher up at the studio or network level, and those are the people writing the checks, by the way, that is a little scared to do that and is asking that showrunner or director to instead consider some more familiar names to them. And by familiar, I either mean they're familiar to the audience because they're celebrities with a built-in fan base, or they're familiar to that network or studio because they've worked with them time and time again. After all, this is a business, and there are a myriad of variables that go into each project and determine whether or not it's going to be profitable. And so those controlling the purse strings simply want to mitigate risk and eliminate as many of those variables as possible. So if they have a choice between actor A, who has no proven track record and no discernible built-in fan base, or actor B, who may have celebrity already built in, or at the very least has this prior track record with that studio or network, who do you think they're going to choose? Who's going to mitigate that risk? Who's going to eliminate one of those variables? Essentially, who's going to increase the chance of getting a financial return on that project? On a much smaller level, Brooke and I, when we're producing our own content, rarely hold auditions for any of the big roles. I wonder if that's a surprise to anyone watching. Instead, we offer those roles to the actors that we not only know well, but also know their talent. In fact, I'm often writing roles with actors already in mind. It's exciting to not only have a face to imagine while writing that role, but also to think that I might have a chance to actually work with that friend of mine. And so again, I completely understand that when you're on the outside of that friend circle, or when you're on the outside of that casting director's list of favorites, or when you just feel like you're on the outside of the whole industry, it seems unfair. And maybe it is. But hear me on this. It will never change. Never. And if you start to produce your own content where you're actually putting real dollars into the budget, you'll instantly understand this concept from this other side. So this is yet another reason to have patience as an actor. If you keep doing good work, your agent will notice. Some of the casting directors will notice. They might even become fans. Hint, some of them, but not all of them, and that's okay. They'll start to call you in more and more, which will lead to more bookings. And before you know it, you will have entered that coveted friend circle of that decision maker and will finally be reaping the rewards of nepotism. And the cycle repeats itself. In fact, on several occasions, I've auditioned for projects where the casting director has let the actors know that this director is very loyal to their actors and tends to use them time and time again in future projects. So perhaps nepotism is not such a dirty word, especially when you see it from all sides. Or is it? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Epilogue. It has dawned on me that in the course of doing this video, I have neglected to talk about the very ugly byproduct, if you will, of nepotism. And that's when it leads to sexism, racism, ageism, or any other type of discrimination when it comes to casting the roles in a show. Sometimes these issues are very obvious. Hashtag Oscars so white, or when no female directors are nominated in an entire award season. But most of the time it's hard to know if and when it's happening, and even harder to prove in any way that will actually affect change. So I think these versions of discrimination could be lumped under this umbrella of nepotism. I'm not sure, but I do think it's related at least. And I didn't want to finish this video without at least acknowledging that this is a very serious issue. If you have thoughts on nepotism or have insight into some of the nuances of how this manifests in the industry, please drop a comment below. I'm sure there's aspects of this topic I haven't covered that are important to the overall issue. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.